All right. So now on to absolute value. We're going to do a little bit more absolute value later. This is just a brief overview. So absolute value, the definition usually that I hear from students is the absolute value of a number is its distance from zero. So what we're talking about is if we have a number line and this is 0, this is 3 out here, then this distance here is 3. If I have, say, -3 out here, this distance is also 3. So that's what I mean by that distance of 0. So how far is that number from 0? So we don't talk about distances negatively, so it always stays positive. So an easier way to look at absolute value of a number is that it's going to be the positive value of the number. So the notation that we use are these bars here. So we call those absolute value bars. Absolute value bars, there we go. And whatever goes in here comes out positive. So like we saw here, the absolute value of -3, its distance from 0 is 3, so it comes out a +3. +3, still same distance of 3, comes out +3. Oops, let's try and clear my screen. Okay. So your order of operations, the way we used to talk about order of operations, was used for years, is we use this idea of PEMDAS. So PEMDAS is a nice way to remember your order of operations. It's not the best way to remember your order of operations. So usually PEMDAS refers to P is your parentheses. So the first thing you want to do is tackle any parentheses you have, but that's within reason. So another way we talk about this is actually groupings. So we're talking about parentheses that are a group of numbers and operators. Because a lot of times we use parentheses just to signify multiplication. Or if we have a negative number and we want to make sure that we're showing that negative goes to the number, then we use parentheses. So like I said, in this case, what we're talking about is groupings of parentheses. So we want something like this is what we're looking at, something with an operator. E is for exponents. Well, that could be exponents, but we also use something called radicals, which are like your square roots, cube roots, all that. Those are radicals. That falls under exponents as well. So then M is multiplication, D is division. So the way PEMDAS looks, it looks like you do multiplication first and division second. That's not true. You do these together. So you do whatever comes first. So this is which is first, going left to right. And the same thing with addition and subtraction. PEMDAS makes it look like you tackle addition first, then subtraction. And that's not true. What you do is you are going to do whichever comes first, going left to right again. So really what your order of operations are is you do groupings first. So like I said, you're looking for parentheses with numbers and an operator. Then, but it also can be, just to put it out here, it could also be brackets, because we will use brackets. And then these are called set brackets. So sometimes we use those as well when we're trying to nest things. So after parentheses or groupings of some sort, we move on to exponents, which could also be radicals. So we could look at either. Then after that, we look at multiplication and division, but we do it as a unit, going left to right, whichever operator comes first, we do first. Addition and subtraction, once again, it's a unit, going left to right, we do the operator that comes first. So that's why this is rewritten here, rules for order of operations. We do all calculations with grouping symbols. So this is why we talked about absolute values, because parentheses Also absolute value bars, division bars, like I said, brackets and set brackets, those are all grouping symbols. So that's grouping. This designates a grouping. This designates a grouping. Absolute value bars. And you know, if like we had a division bar. So in this case, you know, if I would have to do this first or this, and then this second, then, like I said, it makes them into two different groups. After that, I don't know why this cut off here. So this is not a cutoff, it's just here in the slide. So this is my first step. Like I said, then we do all exponential expressions. So this includes square roots, and or what we call nth roots, so other kind of roots. We're not going to be seeing the roots so much. I just want to put that in there. Then we do all multiplication and division in order from left to right, all addition and subtraction in order from left to right. So just some examples here. So I'm going to braid them off to the side, and then I'll erase it and do the next one. So if you need to, you might need to pause for a moment while I do this. So if we do A, my very first step on A is that we have to do parentheses first. Oops. I wrote my PEMDAS like this. So anything with parentheses, we do first. So from those parentheses, 5 minus 3 is just 2. So once we deal with what's in the parentheses, we can drop them. And then we keep that 5 squared and that minus 2 times 5. Then we move on to exponents. We only have one exponent, it's this 5 squared. So if we do the 5 squared, that is 25. Next, we have to do multiplication division, whichever comes first. Well, we only have one to worry about. So going left to right, this is where I run into any multiplication or division is here. So I have to deal with that. So this is going to be 2 plus 25, and this is negative 2 times 5. So this becomes negative 10. Then we do addition subtraction, whatever comes first, left to right. So going left to right, we run into the addition first. So we do the addition first, 2 plus 25, 27. So the left and right part on addition subtraction doesn't matter as much as it does on multiplication and division, just to point that out. Then we only have just the last operator here. So 27 minus 10, we get 17. All right, give you a second here, and I'm going to start the next one. All right, so next is going to be B. So with B, we got this P parentheses first, so we have to deal with everything in those parentheses first. So when you do parentheses, and here we got two operators, you are basically going to go back and repeat PEMDAS. So if I had another parenthesis, I would do that first. If I had an exponent, I'd do that first. Our exponent's on the outside though, so we're not doing that yet. If I had multiplication division, I would do that first. Here we do addition and subtraction, so we do what comes first going left to right. So inside here, in the parentheses, this comes first. So as you get used to this, you might not have to follow these rules quite as exactly as I am right now, but I am following these rules directly and exactly as they are written to make it easier for us to get these answers correct the first time. But anyways, we're still dealing with these parentheses. So now I have a negative 2 plus 5. So that is going to be, oops. I'm going to keep my parentheses here just because of this operator out here. So -2 plus 5 is 3 squared. Now we go on to exponents. So we only have 1, 3 squared. 6 divided by 2 times 5 minus 3 squared. So that is just going to be 9. Now we move on to multiplication division. So remember, first one that comes across, we come across going left to right. So going left to right, the first thing we come across is division. So first thing we need to do is that 6 divided by 2 before I can even do this multiplied by 5. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And I would suggest not throwing this all into a calculator because sometimes calculators will get this confused. Especially like Casios are terrible about this. So that's why we need to be able to do this by hand because we can't depend on a calculator to understand what we're looking for sometimes. Unless we know how to program it in there correctly. And once again, we're still doing multiplication division. This comes next. So 15, or sorry, 3 times 5 is 15. We've got that minus 9. So our last operator is the subtraction. 15 minus 9 is going to leave me with 6. Give you a minute here and we'll do the last one. So this one, I said one of my grouping symbols. Get this up here again. One of my grouping symbols I could have, doesn't always have to be parentheses. I've said there's brackets and all that stuff. You can also have your absolute value bars, meaning I have to deal with what's in an absolute value first. So for C, I have to deal with these absolute values first. So that is one grouping. The other grouping is that I have a division bar. So with this division bar means I have to do the top first and the bottom second. Assuming we had something we can do on the bottom. We don't in this case, but I'd kind of think of it that way. Just do your order of operations on the top, then do it on the bottom. So like I said, we're focusing on that top first, and inside the top is this absolute value. So what we have going on here, I just want to go through this one more time. So we're doing our groupings. Like I said, this is a grouping. So it means I'm going to tackle this first. And then inside here, we start that order of operations again. And by that order of operations again, we do this grouping. So absolute value. We got an absolute value of -3 times 4. So -3 times 4 is just -12. By order of operation, not order of operations, I'm sorry, by absolute values, we know that this is just telling me my distance from 0. So it's just going to be +12. Now, we got rid of that grouping. Now it's this grouping up here on the top we have to deal with. So if you deal with the top, we got 12 plus 2. That's 24. And then we're dividing by 7. Actually, I don't think I can go any further than that. So we could stop here at 24 over 7. So sometimes you can't get rid of an operator necessarily. So if you were keeping exact values, you'd keep this. Otherwise, we'd break this. 428. Actually, I can make it exact like this. So the decimal version of this would be this right here. So this line here means that this 428,571 will repeat over and over and over again. Okay, so the solutions are once again in here. How did I? Let me go back a second. I made a silly mistake. I don't know why I thought that was 24. 12 times 2 is 14. 14 divided by 7 is 2. I was going to say, I thought that was supposed to be a whole number. Don't worry, we all make silly mistakes. So when parentheses occur within parentheses, we can make them different shapes. So we can sometimes make them brackets, and sometimes we'll make them what we call they're braces. They get called set brackets later. All of these have the same meaning. They just mean that this is a group. When parentheses occur within parentheses, computation and the innermost ones is to be done first. So we find the innermost parenthesis, we do that, and then we do the next one. So we just sort of move out of the nesting is essentially what we do. So we start with the innermost, and then we rectify that, and then we do the next innermost, rectify that, and we just keep going until all the parentheses are taken care of, or all our groupings are taken care of. But it's going to give you a chance to do this on your own. Yeah, okay, that was just these two. So you have A, B, and C, D here. So A is parentheses within a bracket within a brace. So do the innermost first and work your way out. This one, remember, division sign is a grouping. And then for simplifying, for simplifying for C, your absolute values are also a grouping. So remember, you do the grouping first, then you're going to do that exponent. And then D, once again, division bar causes a grouping. So you have to remember, do this by grouping. You have exponents, then do that. So make sure you just follow those order of operations and you should get through it just fine. I'll pause this and give you a chance to work on it. We'll come back. So like I did earlier, I'll do A and then I'll do B, but hopefully I can keep it all on the same page here. Unlike last time, I won't have to erase it right away. Okay, so for A, like I said, we have to do those groupings. So we look for the innermost grouping first. So like I said, we got these braces. So usually we do braces for the outermost. So, or let me rephrase this. We usually do parentheses for innermost, then we do brackets for the next group, next part out, and then braces for the next part out. You could also see this though. Just want you to know both of those mean the same thing. But what we're focusing on is just finding the innermost set of parentheses or groupings that we have to deal with. So that innermost set is going to be that 5 plus 6. So we have the 4, and then minus brace 7 plus bracket 2 minus, and then 5 plus 6 is just going to be 11. Close that bracket, close that brace. So like I said, this just gives us 11, so that's what we put there. So then next, we are going to tackle the next innermost part, which is going to be that 2 minus 11. So 4 minus brace 7, and then we're going to do plus 2 minus 11, which is going to give us, in this case, I'm going to keep parentheses because we're going to get a negative answer. This is a negative 9. We already have this operator out here, so we're going to write it like this to remember that's a negative. Now we can do our last grouping. So the 7 plus negative 9. Okay, so when you're adding a negative number, this is the same as saying it's just 7 minus 9. So this is just going to be just negative 2 here. So this is 4, and this part is a negative 2. So I'm using those parentheses just because I have that negative. And then just a reminder again, if you have if you're subtracting a negative number, remember a negative and a negative is a positive. Like here, this is a positive and a negative, so it stays a negative. This is really the same as saying like 4 plus 2, because a negative followed by a negative here. So we're just looking at these two symbols here. me do that in blue. So that's going to give me 6. It looks like I'm going to have to erase this to do B. Maybe. Just take off some of those little extra notes there. Okay. So let's do B now. So with B, we're going to treat that as a grouping that we're going to deal with first because we got that division bar. So it splits these into 2 different groups. So to do the top first, we got multiplication and just division. So we do what comes first, going left to right. So going left to right, the first thing we come to is the 6 times 3. Like I said, we're dealing with this one first. So 6 times 3 is just going to be 18. Then the next one we come across, like I said, going left to right. Well, then we have that 18 minus 9. So that's just going to be 2. And then we have this negative 2 down here. So you weren't sure about this? We got 2 and 2. Those cancel, but remember what I said, those rules about negatives and positive. If you're multiplying and dividing and you have an even number of negatives, you get an even result. If you have an odd number of negatives, you get a negative result. We only have 1 negative. So this is going to be 1, but it's going to be negative 1. And then for C, room here. So for C, once again, my grouping is absolute values as a grouping. But inside that absolute value is another grouping. This is your innermost. So when we start on this one, we start with our innermost grouping. We are going to deal with that 10 divided by 5 first, which is going to leave me with 2. Put a little extra line there I didn't need. So like I said, this 2 is what we get from that 10 minus 5. Then we finish out this grouping, the absolute value. So 2 plus 2, that's going to be 4. In this case, because we have absolute value, we got to figure out what the absolute value of 4 is, which is 4. Now we can do that exponent. So 4 times 4 times 4 is going to be 64. Sorry, I do that in my head really quick. All right. Now with D, once again, we have 2 groupings. So it really doesn't matter which of these groupings we do first as far as the division goes. I just usually do the top first. So I'm going to do this as the first grouping, then the second grouping. Then we can deal with the rest of the problem. So if I do this, once again, as groupings, we'll write it here, and then I will start doing this. So like I said, I'm going to deal with this top part first. So going left to right, the first thing we come across is that division. So the first thing I'm going to do is do 6 divided by 2, which is going to be 3. So we're still dealing with that top grouping. Now we have 3 times 3, which is going to be 9. And now we start dealing with the bottom. Now, when I deal with the bottom, we don't have groupings. We don't have groupings. So then we look for exponents. We do have an exponent. We have this 2 cubed. So remember, that negative is not, there's not parentheses around it. So we're just dealing with that 2. So it's that 2 that duplicates 3 times. We don't have to worry about that negative. So what this ends up turning into is 9 over 9 minus 8. Now 9 minus 8 is just 1. So what we have is 9 minus 1, or 9 divided by 1 is just 9. So in this case, when it's just single numbers and there's no more operators, we just do 9 divided by 1. We just treat this as the operator. That is division now. That's all it is. It's no groupings. So this 9 over 1 just is 9 minus this one leaves us with an 8.